So now it should. Your event is starting. We should be live, actually, if everything works out. Good evening. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News, and I have got Jason Jones with us tonight. Jason, say hi.
Hi, John.
That was coming through. We'll find out in a little bit here. This is our Sunday afternoon where football season's over. We have nothing better to do, so we decided that we were going to come and do some talking of the business. You know, that's kind of cool. So Jason and I just got back. We had a full week in Las Vegas last week. Crazy week down there. Jason, what are some of the highlights that you experienced down there?
Some of the highlights, I think, one of the big highlights that stands out for me the most is I got an opportunity to see Jeremy Breck speak and talk about the uplighting design that he does. And it goes, saying uplighting design is kind of like it's just an understatement by itself. And just talking about kind of what you can do with lights and designing in a room, you know. And my expectations, going in, were kind of like, oh, well, I'm gonna see some cool color patterns and things like that. But what the slides that he was showing of the things that he creates are just like jaw dropping. I mean, I can imagine when guests would walk into that room, they would just be in awe because of the environment that he creates. I mean, it goes beyond just kind of like mood lit ambiance, but actually an environment. If I could just share like the one specific that just kind of blew my mind was this couple was like they really had an affinity for the woods, and this one venue had just a big kind of white wall, which he said, which I can understand now, but that's like his favorite kind of venue, where it's like just a blank canvas for him to put up whatever he puts up. And what he did was he created basically a forest that was silhouetted across the back. And then put like orange glow through it somehow, through the magic of what he does. This orange glow, so it really looked like it had a real depth to it, to where it looked like a standing in the woods at sunset. Even though you didn't see the actual sun, or the sun wasn't positioned anywhere. And then somehow seamlessly integrated was the monogram of their name, and like the big letter of the last name and all that across this entire wall. And it was just, I mean, like, you didn't look at that thinking, I'm looking at a wall with a painting on it or even lights on it. You're like, I'm looking at like a wood scene. It was like something really theatrical that was created, and I'm looking at a photo of it. So I didn't even see it live. I'm just seeing it in a photo, and I think it's stunning. And I was just like, it's just incredible, and it just really speaks to a couple of things of is what, if this is representative of what of the kind of art that DJs are doing and bringing to the table and bringing to the experience. I mean, that kind of work is kind of being the change or being the elevation in the industry. That's the industry that I want to say I'm proud to be a part of, and I want people to identify with what we do, with that kind of artistic flair and skill and all of it. So needless to say, I was very, very, really impressed.
Oh yeah, that was. I saw the pictures and things also, and oh my gosh, the things that Jeremy does, mind blowing.
Yeah,
and I mean, not that Jeremy's the only one. There's others who do that also, but we got to see the seminar, we got to see the pictures, and we got to sit there and say, "Wow, I stink."
It's like it's discovering that beautiful gap, where it's like, hey, I've got room to grow now. I got work to do, and it's going to be exciting and great.
Wow, he could take that light and make it do things, and I look at the light and say, ooh, rabbits. Shadow puppets.
What a great idea. Now, if we all just stand up here, now don't move. There we go. Shadow puppet. Actually, you might be onto something.
I mean, that really, I'm sorry. I've got some cool lights, but I don't have that. I think it takes an artistic eye.
Oh, absolutely.
And as much as I'd like to say, I'm really good at everything, that's not my forte. As you can kind of see, he wears a old. I just don't have that really nice side.
You could, I mean, no, I think you have an aesthetic. I think it's something that you could do. I mean, it's a combination of both like skills, scientific knowledge, because I mean, he has to understand color temperatures. He has to understand a lot of things to be able to actually, technical things, to be able to create the palette
Oh, yeah.
to be able to create that scene and do all that, and then have the aesthetic of understanding of scale and size and what's going to have that depth and have the vision for it too. You know, I think everybody has the potential. It's just if that's what you want to pursue, if that's the art that you want to pursue.
Yeah,
You know?
and I've thought about, looked at it, and we've got a lot of the uplighting that we played with and such, but my passion when I'm doing this, and this is something for DJs everywhere, you need to really find that passion. And my passion is I find myself much more fulfilled with my microphone work. While I'm able to use the microphone, not in an obnoxious way, but to use it, I like to kind of correlate it to a referee in a basketball game. If the referee does his job, you really don't pay attention to them being there. If they do it and do it well, a director, as you guys have talked about in the entertainment experience, if you do it and do it well, they just feel like it just kind of happens somewhat spontaneously. And I've really subscribed to that idea, because it's something that I would rather be in the backgrounds. I'd rather people thinking, oh my gosh, it just happened, and using the microphone and directing traffic in the background a little bit and getting people in the right spot. Granted, I like pretty things too.
Well, I mean, you're being awesome when people think that they can just do what you're doing. Like, oh, like you make it look so easy. Like, oh, I could do that, kind of thing like that. Where it's like it's that comfortable in that and flows that well and does that sort of thing. And you're right on. I mean, like knowing your passion is everything. Mine is storytelling and spectacle. And I've been working on spectacle for years. Like, how can I make the production bigger? How can I make it more impactful? How can I make it more moving? How can I make it? That's why, when I was seeing what was possible from Jeremy, I'm like, how can I do this? You know what I mean? This totally fits into my whole spectacle thing. But the difference though is that because I don't think that, especially when we're talking weddings, people like spectacle, but they don't want to lose intimacy, and they don't want to lose the whole purpose of the day. You know what I mean? Like, the couple doesn't want to get lost in the spectacle of all the stuff and things to see and do there. Like the whole point of being there, it gets lost. So being able to do something that's bigger than life, but yet still keeps a laser focus in on the intimacy and the connectiveness of connecting people, because no matter what we do, we're creating environments so people can connect profoundly. At least from my point of view, that's the ultimate goal, and then everything needs to support that. And so taking that on makes its own exciting challenge in and of itself.
For sure, because one of the things as we were talking and studying the up and coming generation, and they talk about them being an experiential generation that's coming up. So when you're using the lighting and you're using the whatever different tools you have to create that experience, because truthfully, there's a reason why the Starbucks and in Minnesota Caribou Coffee, why these expensive coffee shops are doing so well. It's an experience. And if we can somehow create that experience, that unique experience, so people can feel that they were at something different than a typical, boy, that goes a long way.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we're at the point where we're inundated with stuff. Stuff is so cheap and plentiful that everyone is overstuffed. You could even be of modest income and be overstuffed with stuff. To whereas, so what's left? It's like having fulfilling, exciting experiences, really, and going to, I don't know, it's like kind of going to extremes. It's like, how can this be heightened, or how can this be nuanced even more, and all of that. And I think that, that's where the future of wedding reception production is. That's definitely where I don't do high school dances, but from what I've seen Jeremy Landby do and things like that, just the scale of the production that is created is just like mind-boggling. It's like an immersive experience that that doesn't even, I don't have the adjectives for you right now, but
that is cool.
It goes beyond like cool flashing lights. It goes way beyond that.
By far. And I've even got some additional friends. Jeremy is based out of Minnesota here, and he does a lot of very large dances. But I've got some friends from around the country who are doing things. One of them, which was kind of cool, I just saw, was the idea that they're creating a VIP area. So they have their dance, and then they literally have this little couch VIP area where they treat these kids in a different level, for lack of a better way to an experience. Wow. They're creating an experience for these kids who won this VIP thing. It was really kind of cool, and
that is really cool. So they get like their snacks delivered, and of course, I suppose they get like, hey, they're up in the VIP area.
Exactly. I think that thing.
The
I think I
status.
saw that and I apologize, I don't remember who was talking about it, but I think they get like pizza. These kids got pizza, and the rest of them were the paupers who got popcorn.
Right.
It's like, I'm not good enough for pizza. I only get popcorn. Oh,
One day I'll have
someday,
pepperoni.
Mom, he's got pepperoni and I don't.
Right. Just not fair. That's really cool, and that speaks to like the kind of point of view of the trend that's where the value lies. That's where people are going to say, yeah, I will pay $2,000 more for that. I will pay more for that because that's what's really valued.
Exactly,
right now.
And that was something I was keeping in mind as I'm looking in the exhibit hall and catching some of the seminars, because I actually got to catch some seminars this year. Is that the way people are able to create that experience for their couples and what they're doing differently, because obviously no matter how good we are, we can't create that same experience week in, week out, because
Right.
And that was something as you're trying to go through it. I was trying to file, picking up like Jeremy with lighting and doing some things with that, and especially the when he was combining the monogram with lighting and setting moods and changing the moods. Oh my gosh, just incredible stuff. But yeah.
Well, and I think that speaks to because another person that I heard speak that really I don't know if I heard Randy Bartlett talk. And he was talking about his 1% solution. And because I've been going to conferences for almost 10 years, and Randy's been doing and talking about the 1% solution for a long time. Okay, and I at least I can't speak for everyone, but I have a tendency of like, oh yeah, Randy's talking about that again. Kind of been there, did that. I know that kind of thing. And then I was listening, and I was in the room, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I've heard this, I'm going to run out of the room. I was just like Randy's on, and I listened to him, and I don't know if it's a combination of it probably is a little bit of both. My listening of him is different. Like I'm where I'm at in life is I'm listening to him differently than when I went to the very first conference in 2004 and heard him speak about the 1% solution then. My listening is different now as it was then. And I think he's changed. I think he's evolved and changed like that. But what really struck me about him is how in his sharing about the different, kind of comparisons and how he was talking about, it wasn't like, hey, look, this is a bad DJ, don't be a bad DJ. Now, this is a good DJ, be a good DJ kind of thing. But rather just like looking at different performances, saying like, well, what's missing here? What's not working? Where is there an impact or is there no impact? And what could you just tweak a little bit to actually realize a big app where the audience is moved, where they are engaged, where they are like really involved. And what struck me is how much more. And again, I don't know how much is the way I'm, listening or how much it's him, but just the level of authenticity. Like I felt like I was listening to and being with the real Randy Bartlett, who's unapologetic for however he is. Like this is me, baby, and this is how I am. Love me or hate me, I don't care. And it wasn't. And when I say that, it wasn't like it was obnoxious at all. It was just like I'm okay with me, and if you're okay with me, we'll get along great. But it was just he was just really being real and really authentic and really connecting. And I was like, wow, I've never experienced that. Which, like I said, it could be a combination of like I'm more secure with myself, and he maybe just as we get older, we just get more comfortable and less worried about looking good. At least we hope. We
hope, but sometimes we're just older and forgetful.
Right. But that was another highlight. That really stuck out for me. Was that and the show floor was really impressive and how that was laid out this year. It seems like the setups and the technology gets like exponentially mind blowing like every single year.
There were some incredible displays. Wow. The sessions we've been talking about, Jeremy Breck and Randy Bartlett, just to share with the viewers and such, those were happening in the Chauvet DJ Academy room, which was something I'm not sure if that's been done before at a DJ convention, where it was the exhibit hall is kind of down in this ballroom area, and around probably half of it are skyboxes. And if you've ever seen a skybox, it's basically an enclosed area, like a meeting space, and then outside that is like a balcony with some seating where you could watch, the boxing or whatever event's going to be happening in that auditorium. Well, Chauvet had a couple of those skyboxes, and then so everyone was inside there. And what they did is each day they were setting it up for a different themed event. Was it when was Tuesday weddings? Or was Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday must have been weddings. It must have been school dances Wednesday.
I think so. That was the day that I was there.
And then Thursday was set up more of a corporate event, and it was just really neat because as Jason mentioned, that we saw some of these presenters up close and personal, really.
It was really intimate,
a very intimate feeling.
Which maybe that was made a difference too.
I think so. I think that definitely helped. I mean, as I looked at the room, Jason, you've been to our Disc Jockey News conclaves and such, and as we were in there, it's like, oh, this is like conclave.
Exactly, that totally was it. Like, why is this so comfortable and familiar?
It's like, wow, we just need to go get a Juicy Lucy and we'd be there.
Right, exactly.
But it was good stuff. It was good stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed. I've listened to Randy speak many times, and it's interesting. It's like reading your favorite book to a point. Is you always get something a little bit different out of it each time. No matter, I read it 10 times, and then I don't, or you're reading it, and this time it strikes you differently, and you pick up a different nuance to it. Randy's like your favorite old book.
Yeah, right.
Or something like. But yeah, I picked up a couple of things from him. One at when he was talking about in the sales area, and he was talking about that at one time he sold based on he having the best gear, and then he sold on him being the best entertainer, and now that he is selling based because he gives the best results. And that was just a real cool progression, and it's like, oh yeah, that's really neat, because again, when we're selling or talking to couples or any potential client, being able to put it in the perspective of the results of what we can give them as a final product, or what their event will look like with our assistance. I mean, that's what we need to do, or what needs to be done.
Well, that's the biggest factor of differentiation, being able to differentiate yourself with someone. Because especially and it becomes especially challenging if you're talking to someone who hasn't necessarily seen your work, but they're just familiar with what they've seen, like lots of show up and spin DJs do, and that's their whole frame of reference. So then after you show them and talk to them about what you do, that's like so beyond that, then they're left with, do I believe you? Because there's nothing that I can corroborate what you're telling me with. You know what I mean? In terms of the evidence of my experience kind of thing. Before even getting to value and cost, things like that. But speaking to the result and what gets created and the emotion, the feeling, because ultimately bride and grooms want to have a feeling. They want to experience a feeling at their event, and all the other things that stuff we do just supports that.
Yeah, for sure.
And generates that. So it really comes down to that, seems like. But he hit it right on.
Not now. Okay. Cool. We're live online. For those of you wondering why I'm not looking ahead, we're live actually streaming this, and we're tweeting and doing different things at the same time.
Did you just tweet? Wow. You are such an amazing multitasker. I thought only your wife could multitask like that.
She can. I've now who are you again?
You're in training. I got it.
I'm not very good at multitasking. Just an incredible experience.
Oh, the Cheesapalooza contest.
Yeah, we had some fun with the Cheesapalooza. We had what did we end up with? 15, I think, that signed up for that. That came in and did and the audio was surprisingly good. And why I say it that way is because in that exhibit hall, we had a lot of killer sound systems. I mean, it was, my gosh, they were, on Tuesday, they were putting it up there and showing you a lot of cool sound. So it was noisy. DJs, we like noise. But when we're trying to record, sometimes the noise isn't a good thing. So, it worked well. We had some good sound. There's some very talented people who, I don't want to get in front of the camera. And they were like, as I watched, it's like, oh my gosh, that was really, really good.
right. You act like a cheesy DJ really well. I bet you act like a really good DJ really well too. It's like find your inner cheese. Yeah, and it was all about just being fun and playful. Have there been some good activity in terms of online submissions?
We haven't gotten any through yet, because we're going to put the push out this week. Literally, we get home from Mobile Beat, and I don't know about you, but I was happy not to be sick, but because sometimes when you're traveling and at this time of the year, you get sick, and you don't want to have that issue. But no, I just got home and just shot.
Well, I suppose you don't sleep in Las Vegas. I don't even know why they put a bed in the room. They should just give me a couch,
I use it to hold my computer and my bag of clothes.
Right.
I laid my stuff out across it. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, what we were doing.
Right.
But it was fun. It was a great time.
I don't know if this is something that can be changed, but it seems like all of my networking and just catching up with people and all that happens between like midnight and 5 a.m.
Yeah, especially
down at the bar, down by the floor, and it's just like, what time is it? Oh my God, how did it get to be that time?
Isn't that the truth? And especially when we started out having the suite for those of who got to a chance to attend. We had a Tuesday night get together there with the Entertainment Experience, and yeah, when you start there and it goes until midnight, and
right. Yeah, the super secret party was the best. It was just, we couldn't have been more happy with the turnout. I estimate probably 200 people came through throughout the whole night of who we got to talk to, and it was just the best experience, because the only thing that's missing for me a lot of times at conferences is not enough time to sit down and talk to people, just have some one-on-one time. It's always in passing, like, yeah, we got to catch up, we'll have to talk, maybe we're gonna have breakfast, maybe we're gonna have lunch, and there's more talk about what we're gonna do, and then we're at the end of the thing going like, oh, well, it would have been awesome if we had actually talked. It was good to see you in the hall. And so this actually facilitated, being able to, like, how are you? What's going on? How's your year been? What have you been up to? What are you creating? What's going on? And then, of course, to be able to acknowledge our graduates who have taken the workshop for the amazing work that they've done over the years. It was just the best. I think we're going to, don't tell anybody, but I think we're going to make this an annual thing. Nice. So it was a good collaboration. It was great to have you be a part of it, and of course Troy too. And it was just the best. Although I want to get a suite with a piano in it.
Piano in it.
Yeah.
Do you play piano?
Chopsticks.
Nice.
But I was thinking of hiring somebody or finding if there's a talented DJ that knows how to play and sing.
There probably is. I mean, there's certainly some that can sing. We've even heard our own Bill Herman sing.
Yes. Vehicle baby.
He does a wonderful job, but I'm just envisioning you at the piano playing chopsticks for the 47th time in a row.
Well, it gets better with each time.
It does. Oh, you serve drinks after each one.
and then I add dissonance.
Nice.
Which is a nice way of saying I don't play it on key. I was going to
say, that means that it's not getting better. That means that the drinks better be getting...
It's very complex. It's really artistic and experimental and all that stuff. So.
Cool. Did you get a chance to go around the exhibit hall floor? What did you see there that was kind of cool or something that you hadn't seen before?
Gosh, I made such a fast pass through on Tuesday. I didn't get I didn't get a chance to really look closely. I was in awe of everything that was there. Alan Dodson is doing training on cruise ships, and I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. I want to do our training on a cruise ship. Fully supported, buffet always available, and then like 2 days to sun myself in the end. But anyway, so that would look pretty cool. And he had talking about clever ideas, innovation. So problems necessitate solutions that you can profit from. And did you see the little the battery charger? It was a phone charger with every kind of USB or light wire attachment to it, so people can basically guests can go up and plug their phone in. They don't have a cord, but their phone's dying. They can just go to the table and plug it into this battery that'll sit and charge their phones up. Because most people aren't going to, at an event, they're not going to do a full charge. They'll go and get 20-30% and then get their phone back so they can post, I just danced to that song. And all that kind of stuff. But it was like, what a clever idea to have like charging stations and say, folks, if your battery, if your cell phones start to die, which they invariably will, because that's how they're designed, you can go and charge them. So I thought that was really a clever idea. I saw that showing up in a couple of booths. And then, of course, and the other, I think the coolest idea of the whole conference was what Guy did with Tricerasoft with the whole VIP experience. I know two people. Dean Carlson was on the VIP experience, and so was Bill Young. And they were just like every time I saw them, they were like listing up, I did this and I did that. It was so cool, and I did this, and I mean, they were really getting the VIP treatment, which was like really awesome. I was at the beginning of it, I was like, no big deal. We do our things. I'm not missing out. But by day 2 of hearing everything they were doing, I'm like, oh. I want the VIP experience.
And tonight we're going here. We're going to eat this, and we're going to go there and sit with this person. And
right.
It's like,
I know.
I like pretty things.
Right. Like, can I hang out with cool people? Exactly. Come on.
It's like this is, I mean, Denny's is good too.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy. So yeah, Alan has I think that his cruise that he was talking about is in October. And as long as we're talking about cruise, on the other side of the aisle was the DJ cruise Debbie McKenzie does, and I believe hers is sailing early November, and of course she's been doing cruises almost forever. I mean, I think that as soon as Noah stopped, they parked the Ark, Debbie was there trying to, she's booking the DJs to go on the. She's been doing cruises for a long time, and I think hers is early November, but. You can check those out if you do search for DJ Cruise Seminar, something like that. You'll find guys can find that. But yeah, it's really kind of cool talking to both of them because I spent some time talking to each about that whole type of training and the way the seminar, how that all comes together. It's not like November in Minnesota where we get done with training and we go outside and we freeze parts of our anatomy. Yeah,
right. That's when you're glad you're not a smoker.
Exactly.
It's like I can stay inside.
I'm nice and warm. But,
right.
Yeah, out on the ship you could. Yeah, it sounds like they have a couple of hours of training each day, and then just a lot of time to network and socialize. Yeah,
right.
So,
and like really get to know the other people that you're on. I mean, because like you are trapped on
precisely.
That ship. It's the only way that I would do a cruise now is to do it with an event like that, like to go to a training thing like that, or to go like different magazines sometimes sponsor where it's topic driven, or like it's like the paranormal cruise where it's like it's all UFOs, and you sit and talk with all the people who like talking about UFOs, and like that's what it's all about, and then you can like go and eat together and stuff. That would be really fun, but just a cruise for the sake of a cruise, like just cruising all by itself, no. I'm like is there a helipad? Can I get off the ship sooner?
Yeah. I'm scared.
Yeah. Can't be too long.
Mom, I'm done.
Right. And if you don't really gamble, then you're really kind of stuck. So.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting, so Debbie's talking about the cruise, and some of the guys that were with me were like, yeah, we're going to do it. This is so awesome. And then and then on the way home, I'm watching the movie, was it Life of Pi?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Don't watch that before making a decision. Yeah, exactly.
So I will never leave land again. Certainly not with animals.
But I don't think there's animals on at least not metaphorical animals perhaps, but not any real animals aboard the cruise lines that you go on to. What was the highlight for you? Was there anything that stood out for you as you made your way around?
Well, you mentioned the awesome booths. There were just some incredible displays there. Specifically, like Omnisystem had a wow light show, and trussing that they had set up was just really cool.
Incredible.
Then you get Chauvet had an incredible display with their booth, and then of course not only the downstairs, but then upstairs also they had a changing display, and the light show that they set up for the dance upstairs on Tuesday, the school dance day. Oh my gosh, incredible! The teen day event. American DJ had the full show and the programmed light show. I think they were doing it like once every hour, and just an incredible use of their new fixtures and things. That, again, a wow moment there with that. And then just across the aisle it was Blizzard Lighting, and Blizzard, boy, they brought out the big guns for the show too. So, I mean, this wasn't a putting a few lights on a table type of a thing, which when you're doing these small little one-day things, that's what you do. But they really they came in and set up a show. It was really cool.
Well, yeah, the lights that I got to buy this experience, which I didn't get them at the show, but I'm definitely making plans. But this was in the Chauvet room, so they must be Chauvet. But they're like little LED lights that you can magnetically attach to a drop ceiling, and then light up a cake or light up each individual tables and stuff like that, like spotlight the tables. Which I was like, that is totally cool. I mean, easy solution, doesn't require like, hey, I'm just you're going to do what to my ceiling? No, don't touch. No, it's just magnetic. Snap up there, super lightweight, little battery operated thing, really bright, looked really great in there. That was the first thing I was looking at. I was like, how do they do that? Are they running wires? No.
Yeah, those were the easy pins, rechargeable lights, magnetic.
Nice.
So
were they? Can you remotely turn them on and off?
Yes. There's an IRC. So
awesome.
you can up and down and what have you. So it's a kind of funny story with those is when we got into, let's see, it would have been Thursday when we were doing the corporate one, is part of that was DMX programming they were going through. So they needed a screen and they had some of the moving head fixtures on the sides there, but the guys were, you couldn't see faces when we were trying to get the cameras on them. So we went over to the box and just started up on a ceiling and and because they're pin spots, I had to be back probably about 45 feet, but I was able to, at least I could see the face of the presenter.
Right.
So, yeah, just a fabulous little light
That's really cool. It gives me an idea for a whole nother use that probably wasn't necessarily intended. But like, so you're up there and you're doing introductions or you're telling your story, and you have that one table, and you have all the pin spots off at the table, so it's nice and dark. So everyone's just focusing on your couple as you're sharing the story. But you have one table that just won't shut up. Like, turn it on. Hey, table 9, could you keep it down?
You.
Click. Thanks.
You.
then everybody knows exactly which table it is. Oh, was that us?
We're table 9. Quit it. We don't want to be this person. Oh, that reminds me back when, this should have been in the early 90s when we did a lot of high school dances and such. We were at a school, and this is back when the grinding thing was, not quite there, but they were starting to. It was more of the of the moshing was starting. Oh, so at the school, there was a little kind of a balcony up on the side because they did plays in this gym at a smaller school. And the janitor would go up there with one of these huge 1,000,000-watt floodlights or spotlights. So he's up on the balcony, and he's got a battery there, a little car battery, and he's on there, and he's watching. And as soon as the kids start acting up, he's got this light blasting on him, and then there's like 5 boys who are moshing, and all of a sudden this light is blinding from above, and that was just hilarious.
Using the death ray.
And it was so bright that, literally that would go off, and everyone else in the gym was like, my eyes, because, it was a high school, so the lights are dim anyway. Back then, if we had 100-watt floods and they'd shine 20 feet out, we thought we had the world there going. So,
it reminds me of like when I was just starting out in gosh, this was like in 1988, and I wanted to do a big light show. So I went to the theater company and I rented all of their lights. So these are the big Fresnels and big ellipsoidals, these big, heavy, bright, intense theater lights with gels, right? Great big theater boards with the transformers because they're like 1,000,000 watts each, all that stuff. And I told my uncle, I said, Uncle, I want to be able to have lights that like kind of go on and off with the music, right? All I had to work with was a light organ, one of those old light organ sensors that basically, they would come in a box and it would be different colors and it would just kind of flash with music, go on the wall. It was meant for your home. And so I took that out of the box and I said, well, here's my sound sensor. So he's like, oh, okay, well, why don't we do this? We'll take the light bulb that it's connected to and we'll put it inside another box that has a sensor in it that would normally go on top of a light post that detects when it's dark out to turn the street light on. So not exactly the most sensitive or responsive in terms of on-off, and so we got that rigged up and put it in there, and then he created a little shield for me to move it, to adjust the sensitivity of it, to hopefully get the on and off thing. And I hooked that up to like 4 boards that had light sockets on them, and I put 350-watt spotlights on all of them, white, because I wanted to have a bam, bam effect, right? Well, what ended up happening is that since it was not sensitive, it would kick on and it would just go bam.
It would stay.
And this dark room would just be like, ah! And then they would be dancing close to the stage, and then they'd be like repelled away by this bank of light. And I'm like trying to adjust it, turn it on. They're like, turn it on, turn it on. I'm like, I almost got it. Like, there we go. And then they'd start resuming and dancing and being like, then there'd be a big bass hit, and they'd be like, bam! And then just be like, repelled and pushed away. And they're just like, stop with the light. So by about a third of the way through the dance, I abandoned that whole setup. But talking about experimental lighting, we've come just a little ways since then.
Yeah. Our first light show our first show in 1986, 85, excuse me. Our light show was the floodlights. It was we'd gotten, I don't remember which hardware store it was at the time. We had gotten some colored bulbs, put them into sockets, and what we did is we wired, and we had the switches, just little household switches.
Right. A whole big board
of them. Yeah, we had 8 switches in this little wooden box, and we had one guy was basically the one talking to the kids, taking requests. One guy would switching lights on and off, down, and it was like red flood on, green flood on, red, that kind of thing. And then we had 2 guys who were queuing tapes up because we had tapes at the time.
Yep.
And then we had one guy who was there trying to go through the CDs and find the CDs with that particular show. And then the final one was the person who's on the microphone and such. So 5, 6 of us.
Wow.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's quite a crew just to make it all happen.
And I think it was like $50 is what we got paid for the first show.
Right. Yeah. Big money and you've got about $2,000 invested in household items to put it in hours putting it all together.
Hours putting it together.
CDs. 1986. You must have about 10 CDs.
Yes, that was the 10. And it was the idea was we're trying to find any song on these 10 to 15 CDs that would we could play at a high school. And we had there wasn't much. There was.
Mm-hmm. What was your first CD that you ever bought? Do you remember?
It probably was.
How much?
It probably was the Huey Lewis CD, and the very very first would have probably been one of my those by whatever it was from BMG or RC the Columbia record, one of those deals. That was that was my first CDs.
Huey Listen to the News, sports.
It would have been sports. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was one of the first ones.
You remember how much you paid?
Oh gosh, I think at the time they were probably. I think we were paying like $25 a piece when were the ones you bought. Early in the process, going to Best. Well, actually, Musicland was where we went and bought a lot of them, and paying $15 was not uncommon.
Yeah, I remember mine was In Excess Kick, and I was and I had this. I was like, oh, listen to this digital sound. This is totally, this is Chris, this sounds so much better than a tape because it's totally digital. And then my friend pointed out, like, no, they actually recorded it on tape and they just put it on a CD. It's actually the same thing that's on the tape. You're just not hearing it drag.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, I don't care. It's like really, really cool. Listen to this. But it was like I think it was like $28.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how am I gonna build a library like this? This is just like, guys that are getting into it now, they have no idea how easy. Well, they do have an idea how easy it is now with getting legally buying music. I mean, you could start out now and buy that's what I call music, and have like pretty much all the hits. Then you've got like a top 40 collection right there that's going to cover 95% of situations. For sure.
Yeah, it's ironic you mentioned In Excess Kick. That was one of the last cassette tapes I bought, and when I got that one, I was mowing lawn that day because I ran a lawn mowing service at the time so I was over and I saw the mail car, so I stopped mowing. I ran home, checked the mail. Oh my gosh, the cassette, and I ran in and put it into the cassette player, and I had a pretty good cassette player at the time, and the clarity of that thing, there was no hiss, and it was so awesome. I was so pumped. I literally took my boombox, because it was a bigger boombox. I took that, ran over to the lady's house. Now, again, this is like a 70-plus-year-old woman. She has no interest in anything. And I ran in. It's like, you got to listen to how clear this is. And I push play. And it's the spot before that little white part of the tape and the actual first song. There's no hiss. And I turn it all the way up, and there's no hiss. It's like, listen to that. And she goes, huh? I was so fired up. And then it's, of course, the boombox had that skip ahead. So I played, and it's like, listen between the two songs. And it went, and then I pushed it way up again. There's no hiss. I was so excited.
Nothing. Did you hear the nothing? It's
God,
awesome.
it was such a...
And this is why it's important to make friends that are DJs, because anybody else will not ever understand
exactly,
you.
But we do.
Yeah.
It was a sad thing.
My wife's most common response to something I'm excited about that's DJ related is, okay.
That was insincere, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to go and Skype somebody now.
Okay, I got to go call some of my friends who will say, wow!
Right, I got to call John who understands. You just don't understand me.
You just got to get excited about those things. Oh, funny,
right.
funny. Good stuff.
Yeah, good times.
So, yeah, we got Mobile Beats there. We got a lot of video footage from Mobile Beat this year. Not only the Cheesapalooza, we're going to get some of those videos up and show folks. And then we'll get the contest. For those of you who are watching and want to get involved with the contest, we're going to open that up so so they can get involved. Because one of
what's the prize?
The main prize is, and this is by the luck of the draw. It's not based on skill. If you participate, if you send the video in, you'll be in. What this one, the prize is airfare, the hotel room, and your show pass to Disc Jockey News Conclave 5.0, which will be our 10th anniversary. The Disc Jockey News, the paper, started in October of 2004. Well, I didn't want to go into doing a conclave in October because, well, it's still, high school dance and end of wedding season for a lot of us.
Sure.
So we went to December. We're going to be December 9th through the 12th. So we're going to start Sunday. Talking to some folks, there's going to be, and I say folks, some of our sponsors. There's going to be some really cool stuff that we'll be doing already on Sunday. We didn't want to announce anything before Mobile Beat because I didn't want that to conflict with everyone getting excited to go to Vegas. But here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking more about Conclave, and we'll start on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday is going to be basically all day, and then Wednesday, you might have heard of this gentleman by the name of Carr Hagerman. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Carr's got some new stuff coming out, and he and I've been talking a little bit, and it sounds like we're going to get Carr to come in and see us Wednesday morning.
Oh, outstanding. That'll be great. He's always a great presenter.
Very good presenter, and he's one of those guys when, there's some people when they say that I've got something new coming out, he's one of those that you're like, that you kind of perk up a little bit, and you pay attention.
Like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've gone through, and for a lot of you if you know Carr Hagerman really, he's from the Minneapolis area, and he's a trainer, he's an improv artist, he's a street performer. I mean, the man is, when it comes to being entertaining, and he can entertain, by speaking, he can entertain by what, or he can entertain as a rat catcher.
Yeah. Yeah, in the middle of a street to just draw people who are doing all kinds of other things except for watching his show and pull them in to whatever he is doing and engage them. And he's really impressive. Yeah, I was because I just came back from Australia a couple of weeks ago, and I was staying with Robert Huggins. And he had, there was a stack of CDs on his table there by his 1970s stereo console. And I'm like, and of course I'm like, oh, CDs, I can't resist. So I'm flipping through them and stuff like that. And one of them is Top Performer. It's the audio book of Carr Hagerman's book, Top Performer. And I'm like, even in Australia. And that's a really, really insightful work in terms of especially relating what we do in terms of hosting and emceeing at a wedding that isn't really about we don't go there to do our show. We've created something with our couples, and to be able to use those techniques to draw the guests in so that they're anticipating and curious, and they want to hear what you have to say, and they want to play along, rather than yeah. So I can't imagine what the news station is going to be.
Yeah, Top Performer. Right. I actually knew of Carr, knew he had that out, and I was flying somewhere, and I was looking for a book, and I forgot to bring one, and it was in the bookstore at the airport, so I picked it up and I read through it, and initially, I'm going to say I was a little disappointed, but I need to put this into perspective. I was expecting more on the sales, to really be focused, to affect me more on the sales side of things. So way to say it. I was disappointed from that standpoint, but I was completely delighted about the whole concept of the connecting with people and engaging people and bringing them in. As the entertainer side of me, it's like, oh my gosh, this is gold.
Yeah.
So it was just my expectations going in. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't on the
Sure.
quality of it, but yeah, it was a way to think about. So if you haven't read the book out there, if anyone watching, it's definitely something you want to check out. It's a fabulous. It's a quick read. I don't know, maybe 150 pages, if that. But it's just it's a lot of good information for someone who is in front of a crowd of people, whether that's at a wedding, even school. Yeah, it was good book, really.
Well, I think even if you applied it to the context of sales, I mean, just because someone has sat down and agreed to meet with you doesn't necessarily mean that they have agreed to be interested in what you're saying. I mean, once they're sat down in front of you, then it's up to you to really draw them in. It's like especially when what you do is perform and create entertainment experiences, well, then that's your kind of first audition. Yeah. If you're kind of boring and just like all about the facts and the figures and the, and the lights and the gear and the whatever it is, it's kind of like, well, then that's what they would expect when you show up. I mean, is that you kind of like, is that the performance? I mean, not to take it to the extreme where you're not going to like, get your mic and go, like, good evening, hello there, you two.
Hello.
We're going to do a little interview
This would be great.
here.
Now, what I want you to do is go over there, and every time I say something, I want you to clap.
Right, exactly. Wiley, you'll know the cues.
It'll be great.
Because that's what I'm good at. Eliciting applause.
Exactly. And now you can clap for me. I think that we're back to Randy Bartlett's.
Right. We'll put it up on the screen
Exactly.
for you folks.
Make it
Let's
easier.
flash up here. Clapping.
So let's stick with the car here for a second. So that was Top Performer was his last project that he. But before that, where we ran into him the first time was at he came up to a disc jockey news event, and that was when he was a professional trainer for the fish philosophy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that, Pikes Peak, I think it's Pikes Peak Fish Store, if I'm saying it right.
In Oregon?
Don't do that.
Or Washington?
It was out west. It's out west. Yeah, I think it might have been might have been in Seattle. I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody's watching and is going to say, "Oh, you're
cold West Coast.
You're being a buffoon." We are. That's what we can do.
Correction.
That's what our wives love about us.
That's what the BS stands
exactly.
for. Buffoon.
Yeah, the DJ.
Silliness.
But Pikes Peak Fish Store was this whole mentality of having fun and engaging people and making it an experience. To kind of really sum it down. Mm-hmm. That was really for a lot of us, one of the first spots where those concepts came. Reading the different fish philosophy things was, again, eye-opening. As there were parts of that it's like, oh my gosh, I'd never thought of this that way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, because they like stand around and cut fish all day.
Precisely.
And it's like, don't get depressed and want to kill yourself doing that for years.
Exactly. So the way you do that is to write a book.
Yeah, and make it fun.
But again, making that experience, back when Carr was teaching this on a regular basis, and it was really big going around the corporate world, is the videos, showing the people having fun and engaging the people and being in the moment with them, and daring to be a little silly, to be a little outrageous.
Yeah, being playful.
Playful was a huge part of that, and that was really kind of cool. And that was a neat introduction to Carr, because Carr, with his skill set, was not only a great trainer for that, but a great demonstrator of a lot of that theory.
Yeah, super dynamic. Really, I mean, even just to watch him perform, and when he's speaking and presenting, he's performing. And so, like, just even if you just kind of tuned out, I mean, the content's great, but if you tuned out the content and just watched how he performed, you could pick up a lot just watching that. Yeah.
And this is getting back to our getting older now, as we're making these loops. That's probably one of the biggest things that, as I have matured in this industry, is the lessons that you learn from watching the performance or watching the presentation more than the actual presentation itself. And Carr is a great example of that. Another is a gentleman we've had at numerous is Brian Dodge. I think you've seen Brian Dodge with us a couple of times, and
Yeah.
watching how, because I just, he was down in Mobile Beat here, and so I've gotten to see, and watching how he works a room and how he keeps a room right here with him, so they aren't drifting, their attention, their focus, and again, watching that is so cool, because there's lessons that you don't learn in other spots. So good stuff. The observation side.
Yeah, it's all, there's lots and lots there for you if you're willing to look for it and listen for it.
Exactly. I mean, that's even when this past summer, some of you might have seen some of the videos. We were invited to a couple of weddings, and I was literally at a camping event where a DJ performed. So I got to see some DJs this summer, which I haven't done in a long time. And
cool.
You can learn from them. And truthfully, in each case, they were younger, newer, maybe not younger so much, but less experienced DJs. And you can always learn something. So for those of you who say that there's nothing left to be learned, that you're that good, no, you can always learn something. It might be what not to do, but there's always something to be learned. And there was one little thing that a gentleman did, and how he engaged a couple of people, that I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. I wouldn't have thought to do it that way. Wouldn't work at every event, but you can always learn through observation. I guess I'm learning more these days from observation than I did earlier in my life. So I'm getting old.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a thrill to be able to see something that impresses you. It's like, I feel like, so ever since I've been engaged in associations and in meetings and DJ groups and things like that, we've spent so much time talking about the bad things that DJs do, that when I see somebody performing, like I went to there's a color run that they have here in the cities, where it's a new thing. They throw color on you when you're running by. These big powders of starch, and so you get all colored. Girls really like it, I guess.
So you're like, it's like a powder painty thing?
Yeah. That's they're packets of color powder, and it like sticks to you, and it's like poof, and then you got purple all over you, and they're just throwing all this stuff, And at the end of it, of course, they had DJs playing, and they had an MC. The MC was kind of leading the group in some different activities, and just engaging with this large kind of stadium-like audience, things like that. But doing a really, really good job. I mean, kind of transitioning to different announcements, to activities, to just playing with people and joking around, to all of that. And I was sitting back going I was really impressed with the skill that he was demonstrating. It wasn't like, I wasn't experiencing, oh, would you just shut up? Why is he still talking? But it was like, there was always something new. They had something to say. His transitions were great. He'd move on to something, or they'd go into something song, and it was really well done. And I delight now when I get to see somebody who impresses me. Yeah. I remember posting it on Facebook, and there was these two other people saying, hey, it's great to hear someone say something really good about something that they saw. It's almost like I want to start a club. Look for something good and say something about it. You know what I mean? It's like, let's start spreading that around. Let's start talking about the best of what we see.
Yeah. Well, that just actually, as long as we're talking about kind of that MC hype man, I got to actually spend a little time with one that's very well known in the DJ industry, Sparky, DJ Sparky. Cool. There, he was at the ADJ booth, and I was usually when he's doing his stuff, I'm running back and forth, but I actually was there for a period of time, and it was very similar to what you were just describing that FC you watched, is the way he was working the crowd and working the room, and it was towards the end of the show, so he's not only announcing what's happening, but the idea is that they've got some gear that needs to be. They want to try to sell as much gear as they possibly can, because the local retailer there is there and wanting to make sales. And it was just interesting watching him work the crowd and be able to basically be one-on-one with a person, and yet still working the whole room at the same time. It was really really kind of fascinating.
Wow, that is cool.
I was really there's a reason why he's a hype man, and he does what he does, as far as because he is a very skilled man on the microphone.
No, I wish I'd seen it.
I was as I'm sitting there doing this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm waiting for the drawings to happen over here because as the show is closing and things. I'm thinking, gosh, I should have the camera should be on this guy and recording what he's doing, because it was a great lesson for someone who's wanting to learn how to. I mean, he didn't have a script. He was basically filling time. Got background music going, but yet he was filling it in a way that it wasn't like, would you shut up already? And it was
right. It was interesting.
Yeah. When you find that a skilled performer, it's just kind of fabulous.
Yeah, treat.
It really is.
Big time.
We don't see enough of that. Another cool thing, as long as we're right about that same time, is next to it. It was the Pioneer set up with a new SZ. I don't know if you got a chance to check that out, but that wasn't the cool part.
Oh,
it was cool. SC is cool,
okay.
But what was really cool is that you've got Jay Brandon from Pioneer, who's does a lot of mixing and is a very smooth on his boards there. And then I believe it was Davey Dave was there is the gentleman's name. But the two of them are collaborating and working on the same boards together and scratching and mixing and back and forth and such. And that was like really, really cool watching these guys who are talented in now different than Sparky, because Sparky's doing Mike.
The MC thing.
But now you're seeing a couple of guys working together who are doing the mixing and doing it. With two people working together, that's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really kind of cool watching the guys go, and it's like, wow. I thought to myself, I should have had a camcorder recording that.
Like, I don't have a camera with me at all times.
Gosh, now I'm really feeling bad here. All these cool things, and I don't have a camera going.
That's when you got to whip out the iPhone.
Exactly.
Which I've got to get. I discovered after a little research, there's an adapter that you can get for your iPhone, so you can hook a microphone to it. Like a good microphone. So I can get one of those adapters, so I can be like
click, pop it in. Yeah.
There it is.
When we were at NAMM, that was actually one of the big areas that some of the microphone places, not the super high-end microphones, they have some of it, but some of the midline microphones were introducing iOS preferred, whatever you want to call it. But basically, mics that would work with Apple, and even, because it's a tip ring sleeve combination is what you need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they had numerous microphones. Some were really good quality. There was one of them was it would clip on the phone, and it was a little shotgun mic. So
awesome.
Basically you had it, you plug it in, you've got your little thing, and you could, wow. Which, of course, shotgun mics are fabulous when you're
you're going to send me a link to that offline, because that's dreamy. I have a little Sennheiser that it's just for a video camera, but that's like kind of a big and bulky. I mean, well, it's small, but I mean it's bulky in terms of like, there's two things to hold. I can't just suppose I could tape it or something, but
that would look good.
And then it'd be hard to answer the phone.
Exactly.
So.
Excuse me, I've got a shotgun mic up my nose.
Right.
Why do you sound so funny? Well, you see.
That would be fantastic, especially the way Bill and I do videos. We're out to lunch. Oh, I got an idea for a video.
Yeah, exactly. That would be cool.
Starting now.
1, 2, 3, go. So Australia was good. You guys had a good time?
Yeah, Australia was amazing. The best part is I feel like I've got like 10, 12 like really good friends in Australia now.
Nice.
When we go back, when we're going to go back in 2016, and it's exciting to see their industry take off, that their association is starting to form. They're starting to talk about not just there's the usual talk about like we should have some standards that people should live up to,
sure.
But mostly like just the hunger and desire for everyone to just improve and offer more and be more and just make a difference in clients' lives, because it's like if that's driving you, whatever it is that you're doing is going to be great. Mm-hmm. Because that's what's behind it is to create that. Yeah. So and to see that kind of that sort of thing that was like more like kind of 15 years ago that was bubbling up here, and it's still bubbling and still growing. It's like by no means are we like at a point where it's like, oh well, we're all organized and all good now. But to see that kind of enthusiasm and excitement was really inspiring. Yeah. It was really, really moving and inspiring. And Australia was not as exotic as I thought it was going to be. It's actually more like the U.S. here, and at least in what parts of Melbourne that I saw and bits of Sydney, it seemed more like the U.S. even than it does like the U.K. because it's a British colony, like there's 7-Elevens everywhere, and Robert's like, hey, eat at a TGI Fridays? I'm like, no, I didn't come to Australia to eat at a TGI Fridays, and let alone and there it's like it would cost like twice as much to eat there. I'm like, no, no, I'll eat at a local chain, but no, I didn't go 10,000 miles for that. So, but yeah, even Target has its presence down there. Not in a specific Target store; they're licensed out, their brand. But that's, I mean, that's just it's all like really kind of showing up there. Like it happens here, and then a few years later, it shows up there. Seems the way it goes. But it was really cool. I didn't get to the Outback. It was really a city urban thing. I'll do that the next time. Do more of that and try surfing for the first time.
Cool. Now, did you get to see any shows as far as any DJs' performances down there?
I did. I rode along with Robert on 2 of his dances, and it was I was like, oh, I get to see an Australian wedding. And the first one was an Irish wedding, and they all flew in from Ireland, so we could have just as well been in Ireland. That was really cool. And I actually, in the last article of the Disc Jockey News, I wrote about one experience was at a place called Showtime, where they do a lot of theatrical staging, using their lighting for theatrical staging and things like that. And I just touched on a few things in the article about what they were doing. But they were doing, you know how we were talking about the pin spots at the tables? Well, since all of their equipment is like kind of already built in, they were like shining the lights. They were doing that with their built-in lights. That's it. That's the picture.
Granted, you can't see it.
Yes.
Just wanted Jason to know.
But you can read. And so that was really cool. And of course, then I was kind of like, well, the 2 weddings that I went to. The other one was much more. It was Irish too, but it was much more of a just kind of an Australian crowd. You know what I mean? Like just kind of a diverse group of Australians that were there. It wasn't just all families from Ireland that had come over. But like the music, like mostly they like play. You know, John, if you went over and you just played the music that you know is popular and good from each era and stuff like that, you do great. I mean, because mostly it's American music that people dance to and that people play. I mean, of course, AC/DC, but that's not local. I mean, I think everywhere plays AC/DC. It shook me all night long. It's just kind of a standard staple, sort of thing like that. But it's so. I expected there would be a learning curve, and I'm like, I could show up here and start working. I wouldn't have to learn. I mean, there are some local popular artists that you would have to, but just very few.
Interesting.
And so it was really, really fascinating that way. And of course, a lot of the format of the wedding, I think it's probably because it's still very strong European influence, just like our wedding traditions are a really strong European influence that we do. I mean, that is, and I guess I'll preface that by saying that, I mean, obviously if you do an Indian wedding, that it's going to have those traditions involved and be that type of format, But I mean, among of the basically like the white weddings that I do mostly of, that just book me it has that European influence, so that's become kind of like American, or the American way of, except for a few nuances. And so that was all really similar. And of course, all the interactivity that we've been doing here for a while and incorporating, that's just becoming new there. And though they have family MC over there. It's standard to have an MC, but it's like Uncle Bob. Hey, I'm Uncle Bob. And so now they're in the conversation of like, so this is why you want to hire me at a much higher rate to MC instead of your Uncle Bob. Why would I want to do that? I mean, what value is there in that? So that's what there is for them to overcome. And then, of course, the interactivity. And it was really great to see Robert working and doing a lot of the interactive introductions and personalized introductions and a lot of that kind of stuff, and seeing them react and enjoy it. It was just really a delight to see. But yeah, I was really struck by there's so few differences.
Interesting.
And of course, there's no language barrier either.
They have bears that fall out of trees and eat your face, according to what Bill told me.
Yeah, those drop bears. You got to watch out.
That's interesting. I've have some friends in different parts of the world, and they talk about the family MC. So that's neat to see. Were there any comments, or did you hear anything like that from people who said, "Oh, that's different"?
I didn't really get it. That's different. I mean, one of the things that I definitely noticed is that that at the end of each event, both couples came up and they just gushed like, "Oh, Robert, this was so amazing, and it was so great." And Robert is one of these really unique fellows. He's so charming. He is so charming. He can get away with saying anything. So charming. I was just like, I was like stunned, like, wow. And not that he pushes a line at all. He doesn't. But he's just that charming a person when he's on the mic, and he's just really likable and like, open and authentic, and people just like him. They're like, "Oh, Robert, we like Robert," sort of thing. So there was that, and I was pretty fly on the wall. I mean, I was assisting him wherever he needed help, but mostly I was there to observe. So really wasn't striking up a much conversation. Although the one event we did at a vineyard, and that was amazing because their wine was incredible. Oh gosh, I'm like, what wine is this? And I'm like, do you import to the U.S.? We do, but not that one.
Exactly, we got some swill.
Of course, right?
Swill over there. We send to you guys over there.
So that was a fun experience just to be out into the wine country area, stuff like that. Took a lot of great pictures. So. Yeah, so it was really. I'm so glad that I got to do that before doing the workshop to really kind of get a sense of just how similar and also kind of what differences there are and things like that. But really, for the most part, DJs are still showing up and setting up like right before time and just playing music. That's still kind of the idea over there, and these new ideas are really starting to grow and become more pervasive. I mean, there are some exceptions that have been around for a long, long time. Like this very talented guy, Steve Bowen, really, really talented guy. And he's been around and he's been doing MC, on the mic, kind of interactive, that sort of thing for years and years. And it's just a big open heart, that guy. And even amongst the industry, you can tell that there's just a lot of admiration for him and what he does. Because he's been able to kind of like, he's really good at what he does, but he's been able to transcend ego. Nice. So he's not really worried about what people think. He's just like, I'm Steve and I show up. and I'm a big lovable guy, and you're gonna laugh and have fun, and it's gonna be great. And so it was a real pleasure to get to know him, and also a pleasure to. I mean, I felt like we really got acquainted with like the best talent in Australia. Is really what I felt like. So I can't wait to go back and meet more.
Wow, that's neat. That's neat. Music wise, one of the things when I had talked to a couple of guys, they talked about the slow dance. How we did they do many slow dances during when you were watching Robert's performance, or was it? I mean, that was something I've talked to a couple of guys, and they're like, yeah, we do the first dance, and then we don't slow it down until maybe the end of the night. Otherwise, we're straight through.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I mean the first night was really hard to gauge because they were being kind of polite dancing, because we realized quickly, like, because they were such an Irish crowd, and I was like, what Irish music do you have? And then I know just a few that are popular here, like Dropkick Murphys. I'm like, well, let's play Shipping Up to Boston. That always makes every crowd go nuts every time I have it. It's really popular tune here. So we put it on. It was like, the back of it was like, yeah! It's like, okay, well, this is what they really like. But the group the second night, that was more just kind of a more, I don't know, I would say average crowd, not such a specific ethnicity group kind of thing. That's really kind of how that was. It was like there was the few spotlight dances to start, and then it was just like fast dancing, bam, 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 all the way 3 hours, all the way up until the end. So yeah, they really didn't slow it down much, and it didn't seem to be there wasn't like a lot of call to do that, or like a lot of requests like, hey, can we have a belly rubbing song? Come on. So I mean, that's always something that I've always had to like. I put a reminder card for myself. It's like, how when did you last do a slow set? So look at the time, like, oh gosh, try to get one in every half an hour so that you capture those people that aren't going to fast dance, and then also so that you can have some people can have some romantic moments, So
did percentage of the people who danced at the two events? Granted, that can vary from event to event, as we've seen with our audiences, but I take from talking to a few guys that the crowds that they perform for are more active with dancing.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. I think that like 2/3, there was like we had half the people in the room up dancing, and I don't think that we were like hitting on the kind of music they really dug, and we had half the room up dancing, because they're just like, this is what we do,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
what we're
exactly.
doing,
It's
sort of thing. It's like it's how we celebrate. This is how it goes. It seemed like it was less work to get that going, kind of thing at both events. And I don't want to take anything away from
right.
Robert because he's a very talented DJ and he's really good at playing and tuning into what people like and doing his job well. So I'm not going to. What I don't want this to sound like I'm just attributing it to. That's just how the crowd is. Whatever you play, they'll dance, sort of thing like that. But it did. But they did seem to go along and just kind of play along a lot easier than many of the groups and audiences that I work with here, because just like it's just as new, if not newer, to them to see a DJ take such an active role, speaking and emceeing and facilitating, as it is here. So, but with just the two events, I hesitate to make anything sweeping.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's that concept of, because I had a gentleman who came and watched some Lion, and he was surprised at the number of people who were sitting, and he's like, "Is that?" And it's like, well, unfortunately, we teach them in the States young that the boys, it's not cool to dance, and the guys, boys sit over there, girls are here or sitting over there, and it's just a different, I suppose, culture, and hopefully that doesn't go. As you're saying, talking about things that that are making the way to the Australian performances. Hopefully, that's not one of them.
Hopefully, audiences won't decide to dance like Americans.
Are dancing with their butt on a chair and sipping a beer.
Right,
crazy.
Crazy. Exactly, but yeah, it was cool, and I look forward to staying in touch with those people that we got to know there and learning more and seeing more, because and it makes me curious about because now I want to see when we go over to London and we go to the UK, I definitely want to make time to be able to ride along and see what happens. I want to see how this is culturally different. I want to see, you know what I mean? I want to see the differences. I mean, there's, in terms of theatrics and theater, that's kind of universal among all people, and storytelling, universal among all people. Just the languages are different. But I want to see what the traditions are, what they react, what they, some react to more strongly or, less so and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really curious. I can't wait to go out and see more.
That would be a cool trip. I've got connections there, and I've thought the same thing. It'd be just neat to see, because as they talk about, it's like, wow, it seems like a foreign land.
Yeah. Well, although that's another easy, they still speak English. It's not like going to France or something where they most of them do know English. If you don't know French, they'll humor you.
They'll make fun of me.
Right. Say, parlez-vous français? Je ne sais quoi.
I just like pretty things. Well, Jason, we've got about an hour in here, so we should wrap things up. And
I'm starving.
That's what I was just thinking too. It's 6 o'clock. It's time. Well, 6 o'clock Central Time. For those of you watching this around the world, it's probably breakfast time if you're in Australia or something. Robert, go eat breakfast.
Time it is for you. Yes, porridge.
Well, very good, sir. This week we've got a couple. We're going to come back again on Thursday night. We've got. We'll see what we can put together for Thursday night, but we've got some cool things to be talking about. It'll be probably Thursday. Might be more of a news broadcast for us, because there's a couple of cool things in the industry that have happened here in the last few days and will be announced. And Thursday night, maybe we can get together. Maybe we can see if Bill has got some time, and we'll just get together and rap about some cool things. And yeah.
That's awesome. I wish I could be here. That's my bar show is on Thursday, so I'll catch the replay later. So I can be in the loop.
See what we can work out. So, well, very good. I think our streaming worked. I hope. If you're seeing this, it did. If you don't see this, well, then Jason and I just had a good time for an hour talking to ourselves.
It's just talking to each other on video. Right.
But thank you much, Jason. You have yourself a good evening. We'll catch
you.
All right.
Thanks,
this is
you
John
too.
Young
Talk
with
to you
the
later.
Jockey News.